Hey guys, William Padilla-Brown here, and in this video I'm going to be doing or talking about and showing you how I'm going to be preparing for spring for my mushroom business and for the garden web that I'm going to be doing. So the garden web is 4 gardens, 2 in my local town of New Cumberland and then 2 in the town next to mine in Lemoyne, where we're going to be growing lots of food, plants and mushrooms, fruits, vegetables and herbs and things like that, and sharing it between all the gardens and all the homes to make sure that everybody has a nice crop of food. So what I'm doing in here right now, I'm holding this cordyceps. This is a Talipocladium ophioglossaides. This is a black cordyceps mushroom that I cultured from the local area. And this is the first time I've grown it. I can't really find any information on it online. So I don't know if it's continuing to grow or sporulating right now because it does have a white spore. So what I'm going to do is try and take a little spore culture off of this and see if I can get a more vigorous fruiting culture. Aside from that, I have some mushroom cultures here. These are on grain, on corn, that I'm going to be preparing to expand for local markets and for various sales. I have some reishi mushroom that I'm going to be offering for kits this year at various educational workshops that I'm going to be doing and just online and stuff like that. I have some oyster mushrooms that I'm going to be growing for the local market, the Radish and Rye Food Hub over in Harrisburg at the Broad Street Market, and got some pink oyster as well that I'm going to be offering to the local market and to local restaurants starting on the 8th. February 8th, I'm going to be on the menu. Mycosymbiotics is going to be on the menu at the Garlic Poet. So that's a restaurant here in New Cumberland. So I'm super stoked on that. It's the first restaurant that we're going to be featured on their menu. We're going to be offering them the oyster mushrooms and lots of lion's mane, which you see we have lots of spawn going here of the lion's mane mushrooms. So we're going to be getting that going into the local restaurants. And Chef Kurt over at the Garlic Post is going to cook it up nice. And over here we have our seed cultures of spirulina. We're going to be getting these going to share with other people as we educate some people this year on how they can grow spirulina and how, as we build up our cultures to set up some micro farm models this year. We also have some cordyceps growing here. They're all starting to pin right now. This is the Cordyceps militaris. This is the first experimental run we're doing. I'm just playing around with a few different methods of growing the cordyceps right now, just to see which one's most effective, how we can produce the most cordyceps so that we can try and produce this on a commercial scale. So I'm thinking that this method's going to be the best. It's starting to fruit right now, and you can see that it has a nice orange pigment to it, and the mushrooms that it's going to produce are going to have a nice orange pigment. So I'm following some of the research from RSTDC in Thailand, and also working with some of the information that I've got from my friend Ryan Paul Gates over in Warren, Michigan, from Terrestrial Fungi. I sent him this culture, and he has already fruited it out. So it's really, really awesome. So to have somebody that I can talk with, that's why I'm putting out all this information. The more people that we have doing this in their homes, the more cool things that we're going to find out, and we can exchange the information with each other. So aside from that, I'm just experimenting with growing the mushrooms on coffee that's not pressed. So you can see there's a little bit of water down here, and it's actually taking the mushrooms a little bit longer to grow through here. This is oyster mushroom. So I'm going to be pressing the coffee. So that's coffee from Brew Cumberland's Best. That's a local coffee shop. So I'm going to be processing local coffee and utilizing that in my system. Got some reishi just harvested. It's curing away right now. It's all dried up, but I want to lock in the smell, so I'm just keeping this in this closed box. But yeah, very powerful medicine, and we grew this in the closed loop system that we're going to show you in the basement that has been featured in a few of my other videos where I'm growing these reishi mushrooms with microalgae like the spirulina. So yeah, I have that curing away up there. I have some tinctures and stuff like that that are just sitting up here in the dark to maintain their compounds, just to make sure they're not degraded by any light. I also have some kombucha scobies that stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. This is what gives the kombucha, the fermented tea, its probiotic benefits. So this is the actual organism, the culture of bacteria and yeast that's living and digesting and breaking down the nutrients that is in the tea, and adding a little bit of carbon and giving it some of that carbonation and adding some beneficial probiotics that will help your internal flora and help your immune system. So that's really, really cool. Aside from that, aside from all the spawn production, we have the lion's mane and all the oysters going on for the market and for the restaurants. We're still in the beginning of our productions right now, so we only have a little bit going on, but soon you'll be able to get your mushrooms to cook at the Radish and Rye, and starting next week on March 8th, you'll be able to get your mushrooms cooked gourmet style by Chef Kurt at the Garlic Poet. So that's what's going on for the Mushroom Lab for spring, and I'm going to go ahead and take you down to the kitchen, then we're going to go to the basement, and we're going to go outside. Alright guys, so we're starting some seeds a little bit late, but still better late than never. But yeah, we're starting seeds for our garden web. As I said, there's going to be 4 gardens in the garden web. We're going to be starting some fruits and some vegetables, some peas. We're going to be doing the three sisters, so we're going to be doing some corn and beans and probably some melons underneath, or squash, who knows yet. Some lettuce mixes, but lots of food. Making sure we get some high-calorie crops in. We have some Jerusalem artichokes out there that we're going to utilize in a ferment. For those of you that wonder how to utilize the Jerusalem artichokes, because they do kind of go bad sometimes really fast. We got some purple sweet potatoes. Make sure it's non-GMO or organic, all the seeds that we're using. And we're going to be putting that out in the garden, which we're going to go show you guys. And we're going to be starting our seeds in some of these Oasis cubes. There's so many ways to start seeds. This is just something I got fairly cheap from the hydroponics store that I work at in Lemoyne, Hydroponics of Harrisburg. And we're going to be putting them into these propagation domes just to keep them humid. Downstairs we have some heat mats, which I'll show you once we get down there, just to keep it warm and humid as we start our seeds. But as I said, I would have started them a week or so ago, but yeah, better late than never. But also, we have some of our finished product of the kombucha that I was showing you upstairs from our scobies. This is some delicious kombucha. This is some peach kombucha. And it does have a little bit of effervescence to it, as you can hear as I popped it open. It has a little bit of carbonation. Really good stuff. Tickles my throat a little bit. Yeah, we have some kefir here. This is milk kefir. This is a fermented milk beverage. It's kind of like yogurt, but a little less thick. And we're going to be using this as just a probiotic drink. We're also going to be making some cheese with this and making some probiotic ice cream. So that's really, really cool. And we just keep our culture going. We have a culture in there. They call it kefir grains. It kind of looks like a cauliflower ball. And you just strain that out. And you can add it to more milk almost every 12 hours, 24 hours. You can keep making more of this stuff. So yeah, that's what we got going on in the kitchen. Getting prepared for spring just to keep some awesome probiotics and keep ourselves healthy and our immune system's boosting as we do lots of work this year. So we're going to go head down to the basement. Yeah, we have my straw logs here. These are just plastic tubes, poly tubes. You can get from Uline or online. Just look up mushroom log or mushroom tubes. But yeah, they're filled with straw that I pasteurized outside in my pasteurizers, which I'll show you and talk briefly about. But yeah, we have these incubating here, and we're going to have this a continuous, perpetual system where we're going to continue producing straw logs for our facility over in Lemoyne, where we'll be producing oyster mushrooms and lion's mane mushrooms. So there's not much to see. I just did this a few days ago, so soon they're just going to start. The spawn's just going to start running through and getting all nice and white, and then they'll be prepared to go take over to Lemoyne. So we're just going to go head over to the other side. All right, guys. So we recycle lots of bottles. Before we found out about the spring, we were making sure that we were drinking water that wasn't contaminated with endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors are just chemicals that will kind of leach out of the plastic if you just get plastic water. So you're going to get getting contaminants in your plastic water. So we were just trying to use glass bottles, but we made sure we recycled them. And then we found out about local spring water, and this is a few years back, and we just made sure we were recycling all of our bottles, and now we just go to the spring to collect our water. So we go up there and we get about 15 gallons of water a month. So I mean 15 gallons of water every 2 weeks. So we go up there 2 times a month and just make sure we keep our water supply nice and clean. We clean out our bottles with this brush here, and also nice organic and eco-friendly cleaners that we can get, and just make sure that we're drinking nice, clean water. So yeah, aside from that, we have our worm casting here. I got this nice sifting mechanism, this sifting tool. It's kind of, I think it's like a fryer thing. I got this at the restaurant store. And I use it to just sift out my worm casting, make sure they're nice and fine. We can use that as an organic amendment if we see that any of our plants in any of our gardens are starting to need some more nutrients. So we have that just to make sure that we keep everything organic in our gardens. And then over here, I just have these tanks, just with the things that are necessary to prepare for cricket production again this year, utilizing crickets to maintain some of the kitchen waste and for trade and for experiments with eating them and things like that, and to be able to give them to other people that want to experiment with eating them, because cricket protein is something that's starting to actually become very popular in North America, as I've said in previous videos. We have the superworms. They're doing fairly well. There's only a few of them still alive. None of them ever pupated. We have the mealworms in here still eating some styrofoam, but I did give them some food, which they do prefer over the styrofoam. I felt kind of inhumane only feeding them styrofoam, but it is really cool to see them eat and break down the styrofoam. And then I also have my other cultures of mealworms going, and the breeding darkling beetles are upstairs. I didn't get to cover that, but it's okay. Not too much to see besides just a bunch of beetles crawling around. Over here we have our worm cultures going, nice and strong, creating more of that black gold compost from our kitchen scraps, making sure we're not throwing away any kitchen scraps. And they're just tearing it up, also tearing up some of our scrap mail. Over here we have all of our recycled paper and plastics that we utilize. Kind of a mess, but we utilize all of this for sheet mulching and things like that whenever we make new gardens. And in our tent, we have some reishi going. I just harvested the reishi that I showed you that were in the container upstairs. And we also have some chlorella and spirulina in the Nanochloropsis going, which is the marine phytoplankton, which is not doing as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get a laboratory culture versus a culture that I found on eBay. The spirulina is ready to harvest, which I'll do a separate video on that. But we're just preparing this to get ready to do some outdoor algae grows and do some models on how people can start spirulina microfarms, so we can get some more microalgae into our local food systems. So that's really cool. And we got another one of those double terminated reishis. So that's also really cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it for downstairs, and we're going to go ahead and go to the garden now. Hey, calm down. This is the wine cap bed, where we're going to be growing the wine cap mushrooms. It's just surrounded by old spent shiitake blocks. We also have some plants. I brought them out a little bit early, but it was pretty not that warm in my basement, and it's starting to get warm. It's supposed to be 60 degrees average during this week, so that's going to be pretty cool. We have some sea buckthorns and and a lemon plant here that produced for us last year. And then we also have some Stropharia pots that we're just trying to see if we can get the mushrooms to produce out here in the pots. So that's pretty much all we have going on this section of the garden. Hopefully some of these shiitake blocks will come back, maybe produce, who knows. But yeah, that's all we have going on this side. Besides our rain barrels that we just fill up and utilize for things around the garden. And we actually did keep a worm bin outside all winter. And the worms, as you can see, are still alive. They actually mostly survived on this book. This is a myceliated law book with oyster mycelium. So these worms were actually able to survive here in this bin all winter.
Oh.
Alright, so anybody that's followed my videos last year saw the do nothing garden with my hugelkultur mounds. I just recovered it with new wood chips from the local area. Pause it for a second. Yeah, sorry about that. The propane went out, and I thought that it blew out from the wind, but it just ran out of propane. So anybody that followed my do nothing gardens last year, we had the hugelkultur mounds, and I just recovered it with wood chips. Anytime I see people cutting down trees and chopping them up in my local area, I try to ask them and see if I can utilize it in one of the local gardens. So this is all local wood chips and stuff like that from the area. I just lined them with the bed skin, but I actually got a big load of wood chips last time, so I have a million I can use. I might spread out the garden a little bit more, or I might use it to spread out into some of the other gardens in the local area. But I have been composting on this part of it, just throwing lots of mushroom spawn out there, or mushroom spawn that has been contaminated, as well as feeding it to the worms, and we are setting up to feed a lot more mushroom compost to worms. We have this big pile of sawdust. We get like 1 ton, no, we get a half ton of sawdust at a time, and I go through that in about 2 months. So we're going through about a half ton of sawdust in 2 months. So we're going to be putting a lot of tons of carbon back into the soil this year and feeding lots of people good nutrient-rich sawdust. And this is hardwood sawdust from our local areas, no contaminants, no pesticides, nothing like that. So this is really good stuff. Over here I have some spent brewer's grain that I get, and I keep it like this because on sunny days it dries it out. So there's not less chance of it getting any bacteria or anything like that, and I just make sure it keeps it kind of flat and loose, and I put a brick on it or something like that so no animals can. Alright, so we have this water heater here. I got this for free because somebody was going to be throwing it away, and we're going to be utilizing this water heater as a vessel for doing conversions of our oils from our algae and that we can get recycled from restaurants to create biological fuels and biodiesel that we can use to power our transportation or burn for electricity. So that's going to be something really cool that we're going to be working with. And that's just some sawdust that I've already been processing. I just add water and some spent grains, like I was saying, to add nutrients for my mushrooms, help them grow. And then we have our pasteurizers over here. I have one of them running. This is just what I utilize to make sure that my mushroom sawdust that I need to feed my mushrooms is sterile, clean enough for me to be able to introduce the mushrooms without having any contaminations or anything like that. So it's just a heat source with a barrel. It's kind of like a steamer. There's water inside of there, and it's just pasteurizing the sawdust. I don't want to go into too much detail because I could talk about that forever. And that's something that I don't recommend you try at home unless you've been trained or read a lot about it. But yeah, this is just what I'm doing to prepare for spring, preparing lots of mushroom substrate to be able to provide for the local area, all the food that we need, that we provide for my family, and start to provide more work for the area in an ethical way, in a way that's sustainable to our environment, to our economy, in a way that regenerates our environment. So yeah, this is Padilla-Brown. We're here in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. We're about to grow lots of organic food and mushrooms and create our own fuel and electricity too. Alright guys, so I'm just showing some of the vermi life, the worms that are living in this wood chips that are composting here. I didn't introduce any of these worms. These worms are native worms that just came out of the ground. This is the second year of gardening. So about 2 years ago was the first time I put wood chips down, and then I just add wood chips late in the fall after I've harvested, just to bury any of the plants and stuff like that, and just to cover it up, and hopefully then it'll sit underneath the snow and stuff to just compost a little bit more over the winter. But this year it didn't snow really that much. But yeah, I garden in compost, mostly wood chip compost, fungally dominated soils. Last year I had lots of success. The only thing that I did as an additive was add mineral rock dust, just to add a little bit more mineral content. But I grew lots of plants just in this wood chip compost, and I plan on doing it again this year. So yeah.